Fair is foul, and foul is fair. What an opening line, right?
Dueling from the get-go.
Welcome, curious learners, to another deep dive. Today, we're not just dipping our toes, we're plunging headfirst into one of Shakespeare's most intense, most enduring, and frankly, just deeply unsettling tragedies, Macbeth.
It really gets under your skin.
It does. And our mission this time is to sort of unravel how this potent mix of ambition, these terrifying prophecies, and just overwhelming guilt, how they intertwine to completely dismantle not one, but two really powerful characters.
And the way we're doing it is pretty special, too.
Exactly. Here's the kicker. We're doing it all through, well, a truly special edition of the text, one that gives us some incredible, almost forensic insights into Shakespeare himself.
Yeah, it's a remarkable opportunity, really. We're not just looking at the play as, a static story. We're actually getting to explore the very fabric of how Shakespeare's genius even reaches us today.
That's a great way to put it.
This Folger Shakespeare Library Edition, which is, the core of our exploration today, it provides this wonderfully transparent lens. It lets us understand the meticulous scholarship that goes into preserving these classics.
Right.
But it also illuminates the play's enduring power in a really unique way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, you, our listener, you've got access to excerpts from this very Folger edition of Macbeth. And trust me, it's not just any old text.
No, far from it.
It's this carefully curated document, just rich with details that peel back layers of history, layers of interpretation, helping us see the play with, well, maybe fresh eyes.
Definitely.
Okay, so before we even get to the witches chanting over a cauldron, let's talk about something really kind of wild, something that might fundamentally change how you think about reading Shakespeare.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Did you know that when you pick up a copy of Macbeth or Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet, you might not actually be reading precisely what Shakespeare originally put down on paper?
It sounds simple, but it's a huge point.
Right. This Folger edition, especially, it really highlights the incredibly complex journey these plays have taken to get to us. It makes you realize there are layers upon layers of history kind of etched into the very words on the page.
It's such an essential point, and it leads us straight to asking, what is a definitive Shakespearean text?
Yeah, what even is that?
Our sources, especially the Folger notes, really emphasize that unlike, say, a modern novel with a single author-approved version, Shakespeare's plays didn't have that luxury in his time. They existed in various forms.
Like photocopies runoff back then.
Sort of. Famously, they appeared in individual printed playbooks called quartos. We often just call them QQ for short.
Okay.
And then, crucially, in the big collection published by his fellow actors in 1623, 7 years after he died. That's the famous First Folio, or just F.
The First Folio. Right. Yes. Heard of that.
And think about this. For massive plays like Hamlet or King Lear, we have 2 or even 3 quite different early versions.
Just somehow. Like typos.
Way beyond typos. They can have different lines, alternative scenes, even entirely different speeches assigned to characters.
That's astounding. So if you're an editor putting together a modern edition, you're not just proofreading, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. Editors face this monumental task. They have to choose one version as their primary base text, right?
Okay.
And then, like a literary detective, they carefully amend it. They might bring in a word or a line or even a whole speech from another version. If, based on their informed judgment, it makes for a clearer or more accurate or maybe dramatically richer understanding of the play.
So it's interpretation, not just transcription.
Exactly. It's this intricate dance of scholarship, historical context, and, yes, informed interpretation. It's not just straightforward copying.
And this isn't just some, academic hair splitting. This can really change how we understand the characters, the themes. Give us one of those genuine aha moments.
Absolutely. There's a powerful example from The Tempest that really drives this home. In Act 1, Scene 2, Miranda has this really important, quite disturbing speech about Caliban trying to, assault her.
Right, I remember that. Powerful stuff.
But in some older editions, like the Mobia text from the late 19th century, those lines, they were actually given to her father, Prospero.
No. Why would they do that?
It truly illustrates the editorial bias of that specific time. The change wasn't about textual accuracy. It was driven purely by 19th century cultural preference and taste.
Meaning?
Meaning the editors back then just found it improper and indecent for a woman to speak such lines, especially a young noble woman like Miranda. So they literally just moved the lines to her father.
Wow. And the consequence of that?
It fundamentally changes Miranda's character, doesn't it? It diminishes her agency, her trauma. our entire understanding of her experience with Caliban.
Yeah, it makes her passive in her own story there.
Exactly. It's a really clear example of how editorial decisions, even if, driven by what they considered appropriate then, can drastically alter how we interpret a character and the very essence of the text itself.
So texts aren't set in stone. They evolve, or at least our versions of them do.
It really highlights how texts are, in a sense, living documents. They're shaped and reshaped by the eras they're published in and by the hands of their editors, and that's where the Folger editions stand out.
How so?
They're particularly transparent about this whole process. They make their editorial choices as clear as possible, marking any interventions, words added, lines altered from different sources with specific brackets.
Ah, okay, so you can see what they did.
Precisely. It means that as you read, you know exactly where an editor has made a choice to clarify or restore or interpret the text based on those various early sources. It brings this remarkable level of integrity and, well, scholarly rigor to your reading experience. You're part of the process in a way.
So what this all boils down to for you, our listener, as you engage with Shakespeare, it's way more than just academic trivia, isn't it?
Much more.
It helps us appreciate the immense complexity behind these historical texts. It lets us understand that even these classic works, these foundational pieces of literature we revere, they aren't static, unchanging tablets of stone.
Right, they're dynamic.
Yeah, they're dynamic, they're subject to ongoing interpretation and the meticulous scholarly effort of generations. And knowing that, understanding the text's journey, it really enriches our own reading, makes it more informed, more connected to the fascinating history of these plays.
Every word truly has a story behind it.
Not just the one in the plot.
Okay.
So, with that incredible context in mind, understanding the very nature of the words we're about to dig into, let's finally jump straight into the play itself. And Macbeth?
Okay.
Well, it doesn't exactly ease you in, does it?
Not at all. No gentle intro here.
From the very first scene, bam! We're thrown into this world of foreboding, mist, thunder, lightning, and the infamous Weird Sisters. It sets this immediate, really unsettling tone that just grips you from the start.
It really does. The play immediately establishes this world where appearances deceive, where the natural order feels, well, already off kilter. Amidst the storm, we meet these three witches.
The Weird Sisters. Is weird spelled differently there?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
W-E-I-R-D. It connects to the Old English word weird, meaning fate or destiny, which adds another layer.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
And later, Banquo describes them vividly. He calls them withered and wild in their attire, so ambiguous in form that he questions their very nature. Are they even beings that man may question? Are they really women, since your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so?
Beards, right. Adds to the ambiguity.
Totally. And their very first lines, that cryptic riddle, fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and filthy air. It instantly sets the stage for the play's huge themes. Moral confusion, the inversion of values, the blurring lines between good and evil.
It throws everything off balance from line one.
Exactly. This opening establishes a world where nothing is as it seems, creating this profound sense of disorientation. And the witches themselves remain ambiguous throughout, really. Are they truly supernatural beings dictating fate? Or are they more like externalizations of the darker desires already lurking deep inside Macbeth's mind, giving voice to ambitions he hasn't dared speak yet?
Ooh, that's a chilling thought.
Yeah.
So they meet Macbeth and Banquo pretty quickly after this, right?
They do, and these sisters waste absolutely no time. Once they encounter Macbeth and Banquo on the heath, they deliver this series of startling, deeply unsettling prophecies.
What do they say again?
Well, the prophecies are incredibly specific, delivered with this almost calculated precision. To Macbeth, they first hail him as Thane of Glamis.
Which he already is.
Exactly. A title he possesses through his father, Sinno. Then they call him Thane of Cawdor.
The hook. Because he doesn't know that yet.
Right. A title he hasn't yet heard he's been granted. And finally, the biggest lure, the one that truly ignites his ambition. All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter.
King hereafter. Wow. And what about Banquo? He gets prophecies too.
He does. For Banquo, their predictions are more enigmatic, whittling, but just as significant in the long run. They say he'll be lesser than Macbeth and greater.
How can he be both?
Exactly. And not so happy, yet much happier. And crucially, thou shalt get kings, though thou be none.
So his kids will be kings, but not him.
Precisely. These predictions don't just sow seeds of ambition in Macbeth, they also establish this rivalry, this tension, and foreshadow the tragic path both men will ultimately walk. The ambiguity in Banquo's prophecy, promising greatness to his lineage but not directly to him, plants a different kind of seed, maybe one of unease or caution, rather than that immediate selfish ambition we see in Macbeth.
What's really remarkable, though, is that even before we meet the witches and hear these earth-shattering prophecies, we learn about Macbeth's incredible bravery in battle.
Yes, that's crucial context.
He's not introduced as some shadowy, villainous figure plotting in a corner. He's presented as a national hero, a loyal subject, lauded and honored by King Duncan himself.
It's a vital contrast. In Act 1, Scene 2, we get this vivid account of Macbeth's valor from a wounded captain. It's a real testament to his ferocity on the battlefield.
How does he describe it?
He describes Macbeth's fierce combat against the rebel Macdonald in the Norwegians, illustrating how Macbeth faced the rebel and unseamed him from the nave to the chops and fixed his head upon our battlements.
Gruesome, but effective, I guess?
Brutal, yes, but it's violence wielded in the service of his king and country. King Duncan, when he hears about this incredible bravery, praises him unequivocally. "Oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman."
Valiant cousin, worthy gentleman, high praise.
Absolutely. This initial portrayal establishes Macbeth as a man of immense capability, a skilled and respected warrior, and importantly, a loyal subject, which makes his swift moral decline into, well, tyranny all the more striking and tragic.
Right, it highlights the potential for good, for greatness that was clearly there.
Exactly. A potential which is then tragically corrupted by the witch's words and, maybe more critically, by his own ambition.
And here's where the plot just takes off, right? It hooks you immediately. Almost as soon as Macbeth and Banquo finish discussing the witches and their weird prophecies.
Astonishingly, the prophecy about Cawdor comes true.
Right. Ross and Angus arrive.
Exactly. They arrive to deliver the news that the current Thane of Cawdor has proven to be a most disloyal traitor. And in recognition of Macbeth's extraordinary service in battle, King Duncan has decreed Cawdor's execution and bestowed his title upon Macbeth.
Talk about instant gratification.
Well, it's the immediate partial fulfillment of the prophecy. It validates the witch's words in a terrifyingly concrete way, giving them immense credibility in Macbeth's mind.
And his reaction is just instant, isn't it? Visceral.
Completely. He exclaims, aside, "Glamis and Thane of Cawdor, the greatest is behind." It's like the thought of kingship, which might have been just a fleeting fancy before, has now solidified into this tangible possibility. Almost a preordained certainty in his eyes.
But then we see the struggle start, that internal conflict.
Yes, it's a truly fascinating and disturbing moment. He muses to himself, "This supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, cannot be good." He's weighing it up.
Good versus ill.
If good, why do I yield to that suggestion whose horrid image doth unfix my hair, and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature?
Whoa. So the thought itself is physically affecting him.
Deeply, he continues. Present fears are less than horrible imaginings. My thought, whose murder yet is but fantastical, shakes so my single state of man. You can practically hear the moral gears grinding, the initial shock at his own dark thoughts. He's already thinking about murder.
Fantastical murder. But the thought is there.
The thought is absolutely there, and this internal monologue immediately raises those crucial questions about fate versus free will, which run through the whole play.
Did the witches make him think it, or was it already there?
Exactly. The prophecy certainly sparks the idea of kingship, or maybe gives it shape, but Macbeth's own words here show unequivocally that he is already contemplating murder to achieve it.
So the witches didn't plant the seed, just watered it.
That's a good way to put it. They don't force him down this path. They merely give voice to a latent desire, a dark ambition that already lay dormant within him, just waiting for articulation, for permission almost. They provide the spark, but the fuel, that was already inside him.
Which emphasizes his personal responsibility, right?
Absolutely key. It's no wonder that Banquo, who is always the more cautious, the more morally grounded one, he immediately senses the danger here.
What does he say?
He warns Macbeth directly. And oftentimes, to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths, win us with honest trifles to betrays in deepest consequence.
Wow. Telling truths to cause harm. Honest trifles leading to betrayal. That's insightful.
Banquo, with his clear-sighted integrity, recognizes the insidious nature of these partial truths, these prophecies that come true just enough to lure you in. He sees the potential to lead to ultimate destruction, highlighting the moral precipice Macbeth is now teetering on.
Okay, so Macbeth is wrestling with this fantastical thought of murder, spurred on by the witches in the Cawdor news. And what's his next move? He writes to his wife.
Yes. He sends a letter to Lady Macbeth, revealing everything the witches told him. And her reaction, when she reads it in Act 1, Scene 5, well, it's just chilling and utterly devoid of hesitation.
What does she think?
She reads the letter, she immediately grasps the full implications of the prophecy for both of them. But her first thought isn't one of moral qualm or fear or hesitation. It's a cold assessment of her husband's character.
She thinks he's not up to it.
She fears that his nature is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way.
Too full of the milk of human kindness, meaning too good, too decent.
Exactly. Too decent to do what needs to be done to seize the crown quickly. It's a fascinating insight into her perception of him. She believes he intensely wants the crown, he wants the greatness, but that he prefer to get it holily without resorting to deception or violence.
Which immediately reveals her own mindset.
Oh, completely. It reveals her own ruthless pragmatism, a stark absence of the moral scruples, the hesitation that are already starting to torment her husband. At this early stage, she is absolutely the colder, the more determined, the more calculating force between them.
And she doesn't just analyze his perceived weakness, does she? She then decides to actively change her own nature to make sure this happens.
It's one of the play's most iconic and frankly shocking moments, her invocation to the spirits.
The unsex me here speech.
That's the one. She famously calls on spirits that tend on mortal thoughts to unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty.
Direst cruelty. She wants that.
She literally wishes for her blood to be made thick so that compassion can't flow through her. She wants all access and passage to remorse to be stopped up so that no compunctious visitings of nature, no natural feelings of pity or guilt will shake her fell purpose.
She even asks for her milk to be turned to gall, right, like poison.
Exactly. Desiring to eradicate any nurturing feminine qualities that might possibly impede her ruthless plan. It's this profound and terrifying statement of intent, a deliberate attempt to suppress her own humanity entirely for the sake of power.
This moment is absolutely pivotal, isn't it? It's not just her saying she wants power. It's her declaring she'll sacrifice her very essence for it.
It completely establishes her central driving role in the initial plot to murder Duncan. She's the primary catalyst here.
And it also introduces this incredibly powerful, albeit terrifying female character who just smashes traditional gender roles in her pursuit of ambition. She displays this cold, calculated drive that at this point totally outstrips her husband's wavering.
And that ruthlessness doesn't just stay in thought, it's immediately put into motion to make the plan concrete.
Right, because there's an obstacle that pops up just before the murder, isn't there?
There is. Just prior to the actual murder plot solidifying, King Duncan makes a crucial announcement in Act 1, Scene 4, completely unaware of the danger, of course.
What does he announce?
He names his eldest son, Malcolm, the Prince of Cumberland, which in effect signifies him as the heir to the throne.
Ah, so not Macbeth.
Not Macbeth. This is a direct, immediate obstacle to Macbeth's path, and Macbeth's internal reaction is quick and revealingly violent. He thinks, the Prince of Cumberland. That is a step on which I must fall down or leap, for in my way it lies.
He sees Malcolm purely as an obstacle now.
Instantly. Not as the rightful successor, but as a barrier that must be overcome. It highlights just how quickly the idea of kingship has transformed from a what-if into a concrete murderous objective for him.
And shortly after this, Duncan actually arrives at Macbeth's castle.
He does. Radiating warmth and trust, completely oblivious to the treachery festering under the surface. He praises the castle's pleasant seat and its delicate air.
Oh, the irony.
Horrifying, dramatic irony. He's literally walking into the place of his doom, complimenting the decor.
Then we get that famous soliloquy from Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 7, where he seems to be wrestling with himself, laying out all the reasons not to kill Duncan.
Yes, it's a powerful moment of profound hesitation. Maybe the last glimpse of his moral compass really functioning.
What are his reasons?
It's a vital scene for understanding his complexity. He lists several compelling, morally sound reasons against the murder. Duncan is his kinsman, his subject, and crucially his guest, all positions that traditionally demand loyalty and protection.
Right. The sacred laws of hospitality.
Exactly. Furthermore, Duncan has been a virtuous and beloved king. Macbeth knows this. He reflects that Duncan's virtues will plead like angels, trumpet-tongued, against the deep damnation of his taking off.
So he knows it's wrong on every level. Social, political, moral.
Completely. He clearly recognizes the profound implications of regicide, and he ultimately concludes that he has no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other.
Vaulting ambition. He names it himself.
He does.
Yeah.
This powerfully demonstrates his moral understanding and the consequences of ignoring it. His vaulting ambition is explicitly stated as the sole driver, a desire unconstrained by morality, loyalty, or even basic human kindness. And it foreshadows the immense torment he'll experience later because he knows how wrong this is.
But just as he seems to have talked himself out of it, his wife arrives.
And she simply will not let him back down.
Yeah.
Lady Macbeth unleashes this incredibly powerful manipulation, targeting his pride, questioning his manhood directly.
How does she do it? It's brutal, isn't it?
It is. Deliberately and mercilessly, she challenges him with these cutting remarks like, "Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself, hath it slept since?" And crucially, "When you durst do it, then you were a man."
Ouch. Questioning his courage, his masculinity.
Directly equating his hesitation with weakness and cowardice. And to truly shame him into action, she delivers that truly brutal, almost unspeakable hypothetical.
The one about the baby.
Yes. Declaring that she would have plucked her own nursing baby from her breast and dashed the brains out had I so sworn as you have done to this.
It's a shocking, visceral image. Horrifying.
Designed to utterly shatter his wavering resolve and compel him to prove his manhood through this act of violence. And then, once she's broken him down, she meticulously outlines the specific, chilling plan.
Right, the how-to.
They'll get Duncan's two chamberlains drunk, completely passed out. Then they'll use the chamberlains' own daggers to commit the murder. And afterward, smear the drugged, sleeping men with Duncan's blood to perfectly frame them, diverting all suspicion.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Calculated. Practical in a horrifying way.
And just like that, he's convinced. That powerful speech, those devastating accusations about his manhood, the meticulously laid out foolproof plan, it all works together to break his resistance.
He agrees.
He agrees. They exit the scene, ready to put on a false face to hide their false heart, sealing their terrible pact and embarking on this irreversible path.
It's a terrifying moment of no return. Their shared ambition wins out over any lingering morality.
The die is cast.
The stage is now perfectly set for the ultimate betrayal. Act 2 opens, and the atmosphere is just thick with tension and unease. It perfectly mirrors the dreadful deed that's about to unfold. You can practically feel the air crackling.
Absolutely. And interestingly, in Act 2, Scene 1, we first encounter Banquo, awake late at night, and he's also expressing troubled thoughts.
Oh, what's bothering Banquo?
He feels a heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. He prays, "Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose." He even admits to his son, Fleance, that he dreamt last night of the 3 weird sisters.
Cursed thoughts. So the prophecies are weighing on him, too.
They are, but this is a stark and crucial contrast between Banquo and Macbeth. Banquo acknowledges these dark, cursed thoughts, maybe temptations stirred by the prophecies, maybe suspicions about Macbeth, but he consciously prays for divine restraint. He chooses to resist the pull.
Whereas Macbeth
is about to succumb entirely. This immediately highlights Banquo as Macbeth's moral foil. He represents the path of integrity, of conscious resistance that Macbeth ultimately rejects.
And then Macbeth is left alone, and he experiences one of the play's most iconic, most chilling moments, a true manifestation of his crumbling psyche.
Yes, his famous hallucination, the dagger of the mind.
Tell us about that.
He sees this spectral dagger floating in the air, its handle pointing directly towards his hand, seemingly leading him towards Duncan's chamber. He questions it. "Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee." But he can't grasp it.
It's not real.
He asks if it's real or just a false creation proceeding from the heat-oppressed brain. And as his vision grows more terrifying, he then sees gouts of blood appear on its blade.
Blood, before he's even done it.
Yes, a horrifying, almost premonitory manifestation of his guilt and his murderous intention before the act is even committed. It's this pure psychological projection, a visual representation of his internal torment and his full surrender to the dark purpose.
Wow. This scene with the dagger, it's an absolute masterclass in psychological horror, isn't it?
It really is.
He's literally seeing his dark purpose take shape right before his eyes, externalizing the internal conflict that's consuming him. It's not a ghost of a victim haunting him yet. It's like a premonition, a physical sign of his own descent into madness and moral decay.
It absolutely marks his full, undeniable surrender to the deed. It shows that the line between thought and action has utterly blurred for him now.
Okay, so the deed is done. Then, in Act 2, Scene 2, the murder itself has happened off stage, and the immediate aftermath is truly haunting. Lady Macbeth is waiting.
Her nerves are clearly taut, but interestingly, for a fleeting moment, she reveals a flicker of vulnerability, something we didn't see before.
Really? What does she say?
She's clearly emboldened by wine, she says. That which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. She's waiting, listening intently for Macbeth's return, and for a fleeting but poignant moment, she admits that she would have committed the murder herself. Had he not resembled my father as he slept?
Wow. Resembled her father. A flash of humanity there.
It's a crucial, brief glimpse, a hint that her unsexed cruelty isn't absolute, that there's still maybe a fragile human core beneath that hardened exterior. And this small detail makes her later descent into madness and torment all the more poignant. It shows that even she wasn't entirely immune to moral feeling or connection.
Then Macbeth returns, covered in blood.
Yeah.
And he is instantly, viscerally haunted by what he's just done.
Absolutely shattered. He can't even utter a simple prayer.
What happens?
He returns in this state of profound psychological distress, already unraveling. He tells Lady Macbeth he heard the chamberlains praying in their sleep, and he couldn't say, "Amen" back.
Couldn't say amen. That's terrifying.
It indicates his severed connection to grace, to spiritual peace. And even more profoundly, he hears this chilling voice crying, "Sleep no more. Macbeth does murder sleep."
Sleep no more.
The voice repeats that Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. This is such a crucial prophetic line. It directly foreshadows the agonizing, sleepless torment that will plague him throughout his reign. It demonstrates that true peace, true rest, mental tranquility, they're now forever denied to him.
But Lady Macbeth, at this point, she's still incredibly pragmatic, right?
Yeah.
Chillingly composed,
Yeah.
even as her husband is falling apart.
She sees his distress purely as a dangerous weakness. She dismisses his poetic agony about sleep as him being infirm of purpose.
Infirm of purpose. Harsh.
And with cold efficiency, she takes charge. She says, "Give me the daggers," because he accidentally brought them out of the room.
Oh, rookie mistake.
Right. She then goes back herself, smears the drugged rooms with Duncan's blood, completing the frame up with this horrifying composure. While Macbeth is consumed by the psychological horror and the spiritual implications, she remains focused entirely on the practicalities, the cover-up, the immediate consequences.
Such a stark contrast. It really defines their diverging psychological paths already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Macbeth's agony over his bloody hands. That's just gut-wrenching. An unforgettable image.
His lines there are incredibly powerful. "Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? No, this my hand will rather. The multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the Grune one red."
Turning the entire ocean red with blood. Wow.
It's this incredibly poetic expression of his immediate understanding of the irreversible, indelible nature of his crime, the profound guilt that will forever stain him, that can never truly be washed away.
This whole scene,
Hmm.
it's just a psychological masterpiece, isn't it?
Truly, it vividly portrays the immediate, visceral impact of the murder on Macbeth, establishing his profound guilt and the shattering of his conscience from the moment the deed is done.
And it's so beautifully contrasted with Lady Macbeth's initial resolve and chilling practicality.
It's a moment that powerfully establishes the themes of guilt, conscience, the irreversible nature of evil. It really sets the psychological stage for the rest of their tragic story. The consequences are immediate and deeply felt.
The tension is almost unbearable after that scene. And then, that infamous knocking at the gate. It's such a brilliant dramatic device, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfectly placed to just ratchet up the suspense before the horrifying discovery.
It creates this stark, almost jarring juxtaposition, because before the discovery of the body, we get the porter.
The porter scene. Comic relief. Kind of.
Darkly comic relief, yes. He stumbles to the gate, drunk, imagining himself as the porter of Hellgate, welcoming various sinners into hell.
Who does he imagine letting in?
He mentions a farmer who hanged himself expecting a good harvest that didn't happen, an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, which is very pointed.
Equivocator. Like the witches.
Exactly. And a tailor who skimped on the fabric for customers' clothes. It's this brief, darkly humorous interlude that gives the audience a tiny release from the horror, but it also subtly comments on the moral decay and deception that Macbeth's world now embodies. That equivocator line is particularly sharp, foreshadowing the witch's deceptions and Macbeth's own self-deception.
But that brief relief is very short-lived. It quickly gives way to pure horror when the knocking finally stops and the gate opens.
Yes, Macduff and Lennox enter, and Macduff makes the grim discovery.
What's his reaction?
Utter horror. He cries, "O horror, 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 tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee." And then, most sacrilegious murder hath broke up the Lord's anointed temple, highlighting the sheer violation of killing a divinely appointed king.
And in the ensuing chaos, Macbeth does something else, doesn't he?
He does. In a supposed pious rage, Macbeth kills the two drugged chamberlains, Duncan's guards.
Why? What does he claim?
He claims his violent love for Duncan drove him to it, that he couldn't bear to see the king's murderers alive. But this raises a crucial question for us, the audience.
Was it really rage? Or something else?
Exactly. Was his killing of the chamberlains an act of sincere, uncontrolled fury? Or was it a calculated, cold-blooded move to silence the only potential witnesses and solidify the false narrative he and Lady Macbeth had so carefully constructed?
Given his earlier plotting, it seems more likely the latter.
It strongly leans that way, yes, highlighting his growing ruthlessness and his willingness to commit further atrocities to cover his tracks and avoid exposure. He's already thinking steps ahead.
And Lady Macbeth. What does she do during all this commotion?
Ever the actress? Possibly. She faints at this point, cries out, "Help me hence, ho!"
Is it real or is it faked?
It's beautifully ambiguous, isn't it? Is it genuine shock finally hitting her? Or is it a calculated act of deception to deflect suspicion from herself and her husband in the chaos, making her seem like the frail, shocked woman? We never really know for sure.
And amidst all this, Duncan's sons make a decision.
Yes. Malcolm and Donalbain, wisely realizing their own lives are in danger, decide to flee. They recognize that there's daggers in men's smiles, the near in blood, the nearer bloody.
Smart move for them, maybe? But how does it look?
Their flight, while entirely understandable for self-preservation, immediately casts suspicion on them among the other nobles, which inadvertently plays directly into Macbeth's hands by removing the rightful heirs from the scene and making them look guilty.
So the murder's discovered, the sons have fled, and as the news spreads, it feels like the very natural world itself is reacting in horror.
It does. In Act 2, Scene 4, we get this fascinating conversation between the old man and Ross. They discuss a series of deeply unnatural events that seem to mirror the unnaturalness of the regicide.
What kind of things?
They speak of darkness covering the earth during the daytime, like a solar eclipse. An owl, a creature of the night, has been seen killing a falcon, a noble bird of day, a complete inversion of the natural predatory order.
Wow. The world turned upside down.
And most disturbingly, Duncan's horses, normally beauteous and swift, inexplicably turned wild in nature, broke out of their stalls, fought each other, and even ate each other.
Horses eating each other, that's horrific.
It's this sense of cosmic disruption, the natural world itself recoiling, being thrown into chaos, powerfully underlining the profound violation of the natural and moral order that Macbeth's crime represents. It's like the entire fabric of existence has been torn by this one act.
So by the end of Act 2, where do things stand?
Macduff reveals that, yes, Malcolm and Donalbain are indeed suspected of the murder because they fled. This clears the path perfectly for Macbeth to be named and crowned king at Scone, the traditional coronation site.
But there's that subtle act of defiance from Macduff, right? A little detail that's easy to miss but really important.
Incredibly important. Macduff declares he won't go to Scone for the coronation. He's going back home to Fife.
Why is that significant?
This immediate, quiet act of defiance is huge. It foreshadows his later critical role as Macbeth's nemesis. It signals his inherent suspicion of Macbeth right from the start.
So while others might be accepting Macbeth, Macduff isn't buying it.
Exactly. The flight of Duncan's sons, while understandable, inadvertently validates Macbeth's false narrative and removes the rightful heirs, clearing his path. But Macduff's decision not to attend the coronation immediately establishes him as a character of integrity, someone who harbors early suspicions and represents a moral standard distinct from the nobles who just go along with it. It sets him apart and foreshadows his ultimate destiny.
Okay, so Act 3 begins. Macbeth is king. He has everything he supposedly desired back in Act 1, but the crown brings anything but peace, say.
Absolutely not. His initial crimes, far from satisfying him or bringing security, only pave the way for more, and a true reign of terror begins to take shape.
How do we see that first?
It's starkly evident from the very beginning of Act 3. In Scene 1, Banquo opens with a soliloquy. He observes Macbeth with chilling accuracy. "Thou hast it now, king, Cawdor, Glamis, all as the weird women promised.
He remembers the prophecies.
And I fear thou playedst most foully for it." He suspects him. And he also pointedly recalls the prophecy concerning his own descendants that he should be the root and father of many kings.
Uh-oh. Macbeth won't like that reminder.
Not at all. What's fascinating here is Banquo's clear perception of Macbeth's foul play. He understands the prophecy's power, but also its potential for manipulation. And his knowledge, his suspicion, makes him an immediate, tangible threat to Macbeth's new, very insecure reign. Macbeth can surely see that suspicion in his eyes.
And Macbeth is acutely, terrifyingly aware of this threat, isn't he?
Yeah.
His own soliloquy in this scene really lays bare his deep-seated fear of Banquo.
Exactly. Macbeth reveals that our fears in Banquo stick deep. He acknowledges Banquo's royalty of nature, something noble and commanding that would be feared.
He respects Banquo, but fears him more.
And he deeply resents the fact that he has placed a fruitless crown upon his own head and put a barren scepter in his grip, meaning he has no heirs of his own to succeed him.
The terrible irony hits him.
He's realized it. He has essentially murdered the rightful king, damned his own soul, not for his own lasting lineage, but potentially just to make Banquo's sons kings. The very thought gnaws at him, turning his victory to ash.
So let's pause on that. Macbeth has everything he ostensibly wanted, the ultimate prize of kingship, and yet he's completely consumed by fear and resentment, all because of that second prophecy about Banquo's line inheriting the throne.
He's not content for a second. He's haunted by the future, by a prophecy that seems to undermine his own bloody efforts and make them ultimately pointless for himself.
And his solution, tragically, is predictable.
More violence. Macbeth then manipulates two murderers. He brings them in and convinces them that Banquo is their enemy, the secret cause of all their misfortune and poverty, rather than Macbeth's own tyranny or just bad luck.
How does he convince them?
He uses this chilling analogy, differentiating between types of men just as one would classify dogs. Hounds, greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, each valued for different qualities. He appeals to their pride, their sense of manhood, their baser instincts, to motivate them to commit the murder of Banquo and his son, Fleance.
He's learned manipulation now. He's not just the hesitant warrior anymore.
No, he's now a manipulator, a true tyrant, actively instigating murder to secure his power. It's a significant step down his dark path.
Now, as Macbeth is plotting Banquo's murder, we see a really crucial and heartbreaking shift in Lady Macbeth. This is in Act 3, Scene 2. Her initial iron resolve seems to be cracking.
Yes, she experiences her own inner turmoil, a profound unease that wasn't there before.
What does she say?
Her lines here are incredibly revealing. She says to herself, "Nought's had, all spent, where our desire is got without content."
Nought's had, all's spent. Got the crown, but have nothing.
Exactly. She recognizes the bitter irony. They've achieved their goal, seized the crown, but gained absolutely no peace or true happiness. In fact, their destructive ambition has only brought them doubtful joy and perpetual anxiety.
This moment really forces us to consider the true cost of ambition, doesn't it?
It really does. Lady Macbeth, who initially seemed so resolute, so immune to conscience, is now experiencing the hollow victory and the profound psychological burden. It's a come-your sign that her initial strength is beginning to crumble. The torment that has seized Macbeth is now deeply affecting her as well.
Macbeth's mind, meanwhile, it's just a nest of anxieties, right? A swirling storm of paranoia.
He admits it to her with that vivid imagery. "Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife."
Full of scorpions. What a line. Captures the constant stinging fear.
Perfectly and significantly. In this same scene, he refuses to confide in her about his latest murderous plot, the plan to kill Banquo and Fleance.
He keeps it from her. Why?
He tells her, "Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed." He wants to shield her, perhaps, or maybe he's taking control now, doesn't need her input anymore.
This dynamic shift feels absolutely crucial. Macbeth is no longer the hesitant partner relying on his wife's strength and resolve.
He's now the prime mover of evil. He's actively isolating Lady Macbeth from his plans.
Which indicates his deepening moral decay, right? His increasing comfort with violence, and, ironically, her diminishing influence over him.
Their partnership in crime, once so powerful, so central to the plot, is rapidly dissolving into individual torment and secrecy.
Which, of course, leads directly to the next horror.
Precisely. In Act 3, Scene 3, the murderers ambush Banquo and Fleance as they return to the castle in the dark. Banquo is brutally killed, but in a monumental moment that fundamentally thwarts Macbeth's attempt to gain complete control over his destiny, Fleance escapes.
Fleance gets away.
Following his father's dying command, "Fly, good Fleance, fly, fly, fly," he manages to escape into the night.
This escape is huge, isn't it? It means the prophecy for Banquo's lineage that his descendants will be kings is still alive. Macbeth's efforts are ultimately futile in stopping that part.
It's a direct and profound challenge to Macbeth's attempts to control fate and manipulate the prophecies. Fleance's survival leaves this crucial loose end, a living embodiment of the prophecy that will continue to torment Macbeth. It fuels his paranoia and drives his future, even more brutal, actions.
It underscores the idea that no matter how much Macbeth tries to control destiny through violence,
Some elements remain stubbornly beyond his grasp. Fate, perhaps, or just chance, works against him.
and this loose end, this persistent threat represented by Flance, manifests horrifically just moments later, doesn't it? At the royal banquet in Act 3, Scene 4.
Yes. Macbeth learns from one of the murderers, who comes to the door bloody, that Banquo is dead but Fleance has escaped. And his carefully constructed composure immediately shatters. He cries, "Then comes my fit again." He feels cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. The crown brings him no peace, only deeper anxiety.
And then, the ghost.
Then, in the midst of his public feast, with all his nobles gathered around him, the ghost of Banquo appears, covered in blood, and sits in Macbeth's own place at the table.
Does anyone else see it?
No. Only Macbeth sees the ghost. His terrified reactions are vivid and public. He cries out to the empty chair, "Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me."
He's talking to an empty chair as far as everyone else is concerned.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating here is the profound ambiguity of the ghost. Is it truly a supernatural entity, a spectral avenger returned from the grave? Or is it merely a figment of Macbeth's tortured mind, a horrifying manifestation of his overwhelming guilt, a hallucination born of his psychological torment?
Lady Macbeth seems to think it's the latter.
She certainly does. Ever practical, desperate to maintain their public facade, she pulls him aside and tells him it is the very painting of your fear. She dismisses it as like the air-drawn dagger he saw before Duncan's murder.
And she tries to cover for him with the guests, doesn't she? Smooth things over.
She desperately tries, dismissing his flaws and starts as a customary infirmity, a kind of fit he's had since childhood that will pass quickly. It highlights her incredible composure under extreme pressure, but also the immense strain on their public image. And maybe, subtly, it hints at the beginning of her own declining mental state, as she's forced to constantly shoulder the burden of his unraveling.
This public breakdown is incredibly significant, though. It really signifies Macbeth's psychological unraveling becoming visible.
His internal torment now spills out into the external world. It makes him look visibly unfit to rule. It essentially reveals his crimes and his madness to his nobles, even if they don't understand exactly what they're seeing. This moment shatters any remaining illusion of the dignified, rightful king.
And after the guests leave, what's Macbeth's takeaway from this disaster?
He's now truly desperate, feeling trapped. He declares his resolve to seek out the witches again. He says, "For mine own good, all causes shall give way. I am in blood, stepped in so far that, should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go o'er."
Wow.
Yeah.
He's so deep in bloodshed, it's easier to keep going than to try and turn back.
That's exactly his mindset. There's no path back to innocence now, only forward, deeper into tyranny and blood.
And unknown to Macbeth, the witches are actually planning his downfall, aren't they? Setting a trap for his hubris.
Well, there's that scene, Act 3, Scene 5, where we meet Hecate, the chief witch, or goddess of witchcraft. Its authenticity is sometimes debated by scholars, whether Shakespeare actually wrote it.
Right, that textual scholarship thing again.
Exactly. But in the scene as we have it, Hecate scolds the three weird sisters. She's angry they dealt with Macbeth without involving her. She feels they've been too kind, too easy on him, just showing him glimpses of his fate instead of actively manipulating it for destruction.
So what's Hecate's plan?
She intends to meet Macbeth herself and use artificial sprites, magical illusions, deceptive visions to make him overconfident, to lull him into a false sense of security, leading directly to his confusion and ultimate destruction.
How does she put it? Security.
She explicitly states her core philosophy. And you all know, security is mortal's chiefest enemy.
Security is mortal's chiefest enemy. Wow. Overconfidence leads to ruin.
This scene, authentic or not, explicitly tells the audience that Macbeth is being manipulated into a false sense of security. It directly explains the source of his later, dangerous overconfidence. It reinforces the idea that the witches aren't just passive predictors of fate, but active agents of his destruction, deliberately twisting prophecy to ensnare him through his own desperate desires and flaws.
Okay, so as Macbeth is spiraling into deeper paranoia and planning to seek more prophecies, the kingdom around him is also turning against him.
Definitely. Act 3, Scene 6, gives us this crucial conversation between Lennox, one of the lords who is at the banquet, and another unnamed lord. It reveals the mounting public suspicion about Macbeth. The seeds of rebellion are clearly being watered now.
How do they talk about it? They can't just say Macbeth's a murderer, can they?
No, they speak very carefully, using heavy dramatic irony and thinly veiled accusations. It's a masterclass in subtle dissent under a tyrant. They ironically recount the strange circumstances of Duncan's death, then Banquo's death, and the convenient flight of Malcolm, Donalbain, and Alfleance.
Making it sound like the sons are guilty, but hinting they know better.
Exactly. They slyly suggest that Macbeth's pious rage in killing the Chamberlains was far too convenient, too neatly tied up. They clearly indicate their collective belief in Macbeth's guilt without saying it outright.
And they reveal something important about Macbeth, right?
Yes. They reveal that Macduff has defiantly gone to England. He's gone to pray the Holy King, Edward the Confessor, for aid, seeking to join forces with Malcolm and Old Seward, the Earl of Northumberland, to raise an army against Macbeth.
So things are really starting to move against Macbeth now.
Absolutely. What we're seeing here is how the seemingly disparate threads, the prophecies, Macbeth's ambition, his murders, Banquo's ghost, the witch's manipulation, the Lord's suspicions, are all starting to weave together into this formidable tapestry of resistance. The kingdom is truly turning against its tyrant.
And the seeds of a rebellion are firmly planted, openly discussed, at least privately, among the nobility.
And it also becomes clear that Macbeth knows about Macduff's snub. He's angered by Macduff's absence from the feast and his refusal to answer his summons. Macbeth is now actively preparing for war, seeing defiance everywhere she looks. His paranoia is reaching a fever pitch.
Which leads us into Act 4. Macbeth, desperate, isolated, consumed by paranoia. He follows through on his plan. He seeks out the witches again.
Yes, he's hoping for comfort, for reassurance, for some kind of certainty in his chaotic world. But, predictably, given Hecat's plan, he receives only more of their deceptive pronouncements, further sealing his own fate.
His desperation and fear drive him right back to the very source of his initial temptation and downfall.
Exactly. In Act 4, Scene 1, we find the witches engaged in their famous gruesome ritual around the cauldron.
Double toil and trouble.
That's the one! Stirring their pot with truly horrific ingredients. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, and chillingly, finger of birth-strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab.
Ugh, it's just vile.
This visceral imagery immediately reinforces the dark, evil, and unnatural forces at play. It prepares us for the cunning deceptions they're about to unleash on Macbeth.
And this is where we get those incredibly famous, chilling pronouncements, the ones that then sound so reassuring, so absolute on the surface.
That are actually exquisitely designed to mislead him, to give him this false and ultimately fatal sense of invincibility.
Okay, walk us through the apparitions and what they tell him.
The apparitions conjured by the witches deliver 3 key prophecies, each more deceptive than the last. First, the first apparition appears. It's an armed head.
Like soldier's helmet.
Exactly. And it warns Macbeth. 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 Beware Macduff. Beware the Thane of Fife.
Okay, that seems straightforward enough. Confirms his existing fears about Macduff.
It does. But then comes the second apparition. It's a bloody child.
A bloody child. Creepy. What does it say?
It declares, "Be bloody, bold, and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth."
None of woman born. That sounds pretty conclusive. Everyone's born of a woman, right?
That's certainly how Macbeth takes it. He feels this surge of seemingly invincible confidence. But even so, despite this apparent reassurance, he immediately decides to kill Macduff anyway, stating, "But yet I'll make assurance double sure and take a bond of fate."
He can't help himself. Even when told he's safe, he needs more blood.
It shows how ingrained the violence has become. Finally, the third apparition appears. It's a crowned child, holding a tree in his hand.
Crowned child with a tree. What does that mean?
It proclaims, "Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Birnam Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him."
Birnam Wood moving to Dunsinane Hill. How can a forest move?
Exactly. Macbeth, believing this to be an absolute physical impossibility, becomes incredibly, dangerously confident. His fear seems to melt away, replaced by this fatal hubris.
This succession of prophecies, it really raises that question again about how we interpret prophecy, doesn't it? Because these words, while, as we'll find out, literally true,
They are incredibly cunningly, deceptively worded. playing directly on Macbeth's literal understanding while masking their true, devastating meaning. It is classic equivocation.
Speaking ambiguously, presenting half-truths to deliberately deceive and lead someone astray. A trap.
A profound psychological trap, exploiting his desperation. And the witches save the worst, most tormenting vision for last. Macbeth, still not satisfied, demands to know about Banquo's lineage. Will his descendants rule Scotland?
He pushes his luck.
He does, and they show him a final, infuriating vision. A line of 8 kings, looking like Banquo, stretching out. And the last one holds a mirror, showing even more kings. And Banquo's ghost is there, too, pointing at them, smiling.
Confirming the original prophecy for Banquo.
Absolutely confirming that Banquo's descendants will indeed reign, not Macbeth's. Macbeth cries out, "Horrible sight! Now I see 'tis true, for the blood-boltered Banquo smiles upon me and points at them for his."
That must just shatter him, all that murder for Banquo's kids.
This vision of Banquo's triumphant lineage, coupled with the realization that he has murdered Duncan for that barren scepter, drives him to further fury and despair. And right on cue, immediately after this, Lennox enters and informs Macbeth that Macduff has indeed fled to England.
Confirming the first apparition's warning and just pouring salt in the wound.
Exactly. And fueled by this rage, by the tormenting visions, Macbeth makes another terrible, truly barbaric decision, marking his complete descent into unthinking, reflexive tyranny.
What does he decide now?
He vows to act on his impulses immediately, without any second thought or hesitation. The very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand. No more deliberation.
And his first impulse is?
He orders a surprise attack on Macduff's castle in Fife. He plans to give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line.
Kill his entire family, his children. Why?
It's not strategic. It's an act of sheer spite, desperate rage, maybe an attempt to eliminate any future threat from Macduff's lineage, or just lash out because he feels powerless against fate. It cements his monstrous transformation. There's no justification for this.
And the play doesn't shy away from showing us the horror of this, does it?
No. Act 4, Scene 2 is truly devastating. It shows us the direct, innocent victims of Macbeth's tyranny. We see Lady Macbeth left behind, confused and deeply angry at her husband's sudden flight, feeling utterly abandoned.
What did she say?
She laments, "His flight was madness, he loves us not." Her sense of betrayal and vulnerability is palpable. She doesn't understand why he left them unprotected.
And the scene includes her son too, right?
Yes, it gives us this truly heartbreaking exchange between Lady Macbeth and her young son. They talk about his father being dead, meaning a traitor, and what exactly a traitor is. It reveals the child's innocence and his attempts to grasp these complex, dangerous adult concepts against the brutal backdrop of political treachery and impending doom. It's this poignant moment of domestic life about to be violently shattered. A messenger arrives, breathless, warning Lady Macbeth of impending danger, telling her to flee, but it's too late. Murderers hired by Macbeth enter. They call Macduff a traitor, the son defends his father, and they stab the boy.
Oh, God. On stage.
On stage. His final words are a chilling, desperate cry, "He has killed me, mother, run away, I pray you." And then the murderers pursue Lady Macduff, presumably to kill her too, though her death happens off stage.
This is just horrific. It feels different from the other murders.
It is, without a doubt, Macbeth's most reprehensible act. It serves no strategic purpose whatsoever. It's purely driven by his fear and spite, demonstrating his utter moral depravity and confirming his tyrannical nature. It is gratuitous, cold-blooded murder of innocence.
And this scene is a critical turning point, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It solidifies Macbeth as an unambiguous villain. It strips away any lingering sympathy we might have had for him as some kind of tragic hero corrupted by fate. And crucially, it provides Macduff with this deeply personal, tragic motivation. It transforms his potential political opposition into an unyielding, righteous fury that will drive the climax of the play.
It guarantees his desire for revenge isn't just political. It's deeply personal.
Intensely personal and emotionally resonant, it ensures Macduff will be the instrument of Macbeth's downfall.
Okay, so it seals Macbeth's fate, really.
Yeah.
It guarantees his ultimate confrontation. Meanwhile, as this horror unfolds in Scotland, the forces of resistance are gathering in England. Act 4, Scene 3 opens with Malcolm and Macduff together.
Yes, they're preparing for their invasion to reclaim Scotland. But Malcolm, understandably wary after his father's assassination by someone he trusted, isn't quick to embrace Macduff. He needs to be sure Macduff isn't secretly working for Macbeth.
So how does he test him?
Malcolm, demonstrating a surprising newfound wisdom and caution, tests Macduff's loyalty by pretending to be an even worse potential tyrant than Macbeth himself.
Really? What vices does he claim to have?
He lists this litany of terrible vices. He claims to be full of lust, boundless intemperance and greed, staunchless avarice. He says he lacks all the king-becoming graces like justice, verity, temperance, mercy, claiming he would be an absolute disaster for Scotland, far worse than the current king.
Wow, that's a risky strategy. What's he trying to achieve?
It's a fascinating and wise approach, actually. He needs to ensure Macduff isn't just flattering him, that he isn't a spy sent by Macbeth to lure him back to Scotland into a trap. He needs to see if Macduff's loyalty is truly to Scotland or just to whoever might win.
And how does Macduff react to this catalog of horrors?
Macduff's reaction is genuine despair for his country. His profound anguish, despite Malcolm's supposed faults, proves his integrity. His loyalty is clearly to Scotland, not just to a particular leader, and certainly not to a potential tyrant. That love for Scotland shines through.
What does he say that convinces Malcolm?
Macduff's reaction is incredibly powerful. He cries out, "Bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy bases sure, for goodness dare not check thee." He laments that Scotland is suffering. And finally, hearing Malcolm list even more supposed vices, Macduff declares him utterly not fit to govern, no, not to live.
Whoa. He tells the potential king he's not fit to live.
It's this passionate, unselfish outrage, this deep love for Scotland above all else, that finally convinces Malcolm of Macduff's true integrity and loyalty.
So the test works.
Yes. Malcolm then immediately reveals his true virtuous nature. He takes it all back, saying he was just testing Macduff and that he is none of those things. He confirms that old Seward, the renowned English general with 10,000 warlike men, is already prepared and marching to aid them overthrow Macbeth.
Good news. Finally. But then...
Just as this hope is established, Ross arrives from Scotland, and he carries the devastating, heartbreaking news of Macduff's family's slaughter. A truly cruel twist of fate for Macduff, arriving at this precise moment.
Oh, God, can you imagine receiving news like that?
Right.
Especially right after proving your loyalty and getting ready to fight for your country.
Macduff's grief is overwhelming, almost incapacitating. He keeps asking Ross to repeat it, unable to comprehend. He cries, "All my pretty ones, did you say all? Oh, hellkite, all, what, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop."
Kite, comparing Macbeth to a bird of prey. The grief is palpable.
Malcolm, again showing wisdom,
Yeah.
tries to channel this crushing, debilitating grief into something productive, something that can fuel their cause, rather than destroy Macduff.
Pleasant advice.
He encourages Macduff, "Dispute it like a man." But Macduff counters, "I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man," acknowledging his grief. Then Malcolm urges him, "Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it."
Use the grief as fuel for revenge.
And Macduff, in this moment of raw personal devastation and righteous fury, vows precisely that. Personal revenge against Macbeth himself. "Bring thou this fiend of Scotland and myself within my sword's length," said him. "If he escape, heaven forgive him too."
He wants Macbeth face to face, sword to sword.
This scene is absolutely vital for two main reasons. First, it establishes the legitimate, morally righteous force led by the now proven virtuous Malcolm that will ultimately confront Macbeth and restore order.
And second,
And equally important, it provides Macduff with this deeply personal, tragic motivation. It transforms his profound grief into an unyielding, righteous fury. His desire for revenge is no longer just political. It is intensely personal, driven by the horrific murder of his innocent family, making him the perfect, destined instrument of Macbeth's downfall.
okay, so the forces are gathered, Macduff is enraged. We enter the final act, Act V. And the consequences of Macbeth's choices are really coming home to roost now, particularly and so tragically for Lady Macbeth.
Yes, her formidable will, that iron resolve we saw earlier, has finally, utterly broken under the weight of her guilt.
How do we see this?
In Act 5, Scene 1, we find Lady Macbeth in a profound state of mental collapse. She's observed by a doctor and one of her gentlewomen as she sleepwalks through the castle at night.
Sleepwalking.
Yeah,
Like Macbeth couldn't sleep, now she can't rest either.
exactly. And significantly, she carries a taper, a candle with her constantly. The gentlewoman notes she has light by her continually. 'Tis her command.
Light. Why?
It's this poignant symbol. It signifies her deep fear of the darkness she once invoked back in Act 1, when she asked for, "Come, thick night, and pall thee in the dunnest smoke of hell." Now she craves light, terrified of the darkness and what it represents her own deeds.
And what did she do or say while sleepwalking?
Her fragmented confessions during her sleepwalking reveal the horrifying depth of her guilt. She's desperately trying to wash her hands, compulsively rubbing them, murmuring, "Yet here's a spot. Out, damned spot. Out, I say."
The bloodstain that only she can see.
Precisely. She relives Duncan's murder, asking in horror, yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him? She recalls Banquo's murder, saying dismissively but clearly troubled, "Banquo's buried, he cannot come out on Un's grave." And she even seems tormented by the massacre of Lady Macbeth and her children. The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now?
Wow. It's all pouring out, all the crimes they committed.
What's truly fascinating here is the complete reversal of her and Macbeth's roles from the beginning of the play.
How so?
Earlier, she was the strong, practical one, seemingly unburdened by conscience, urging Macbeth to just wash this filthy witness from his hand after Duncan's murder. Now her mind is utterly diseased, unable to cleanse the stuffed bosom of guilt, as Macbeth later describes it to the doctor. Her hands, which once so readily smeared blood to frame others, are now tormented by this invisible, indelible stain that she can never wash away.
It's a tragic symmetry, isn't it? A profound psychological consequence of their shared ambition and guilt.
Absolutely. The doctor, observing her, can only conclude that more needs she the divine than the physician. He recognizes her affliction is spiritual and moral beyond the scope of medicine. He states that unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles, highlighting the profound disruption caused by their crimes, a moral and cosmic imbalance that has now completely consumed her mind.
This scene powerfully demonstrates the devastating psychological toll. Unchecked ambition and guilt have destroyed her, the one who seemed immune to conscience.
Her madness is this harrowing, inevitable consequence of her actions. It shows that even the most ruthless ambition ultimately cannot escape the internal reckoning, the torment of the human conscience.
So as Lady Macbeth unravels completely, Macbeth himself is facing an increasingly isolated tyranny. This is in Act 5, Scenes 2 and 3. The Scottish lords are gathering against him, aren't they? Their disgust is evident.
Yes, they are openly abandoning him for the rightful heir, Malcolm. They discuss Macbeth's increasingly desperate situation, noting with contempt that none serve with him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too.
Forced loyalty, not real loyalty.
Exactly. This is a crucial observation. His kingdom is crumbling not just from the external attack coming from England, but from within. He lacks the fundamental support of loyalty and love, having built his reign entirely on fear and compulsion. This is the absolute antithesis of the king becoming graces that Malcolm represents as a virtuous ruler. The Scottish nobles readily decide to join the English army led by Malcolm, Sayward, and Macduff, marching towards Birnam Wood, effectively sealing Macbeth's fate.
But despite this massive approaching army, Macbeth himself, he remains stubbornly, almost pathologically overconfident, doesn't he?
He does. He's clinging desperately to the witch's prophecies as a kind of shield against the grim reality closing in on him.
What does he say?
He dismisses the threats with this chilling arrogance, declaring, "Bring me no more reports, let them fly all, till Birnam Wood removed a Dunsinane I cannot taint with fear." And what's the boy, Malcolm? Was he not born of woman?
He's relying entirely on those two prophecies, the wood and the born of woman thing.
Completely. His confidence is entirely rooted in this literal, rigid interpretation of the witch's words. It's blinding him to the obvious peril and making him fatally dismissive of his enemies. He even reacts abusively to a poor servant who comes in pale with fear, reporting 10,000 soldiers, calling him a cream-faced loon. It shows his tyrannical nature and his utterly isolated state.
But amidst this bravado, there's a moment of quiet despair, isn't there? A poignant reflection.
Yes, in a fleeting moment amidst this hubris, Macbeth reflects on his life, acknowledging he's reached the sere, the yellow leaf of old age. He laments that he won't have the things that should accompany old age: honor, love, obedience, troops of friends.
What will he have instead?
Instead, he foresees only curses, not loud but deep, mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart would fain deny and dare not. It's this brief, despairing glimpse of his profound loneliness, the utter emptiness of his bloody achievement. He knows deep down what he's lost.
And he asks the doctor about Lady Macbeth, right?
Yes, he asks the doctor if he can possibly cure her diseased mind. "Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased, pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow, raise out the written troubles of the brain, and with some sweet, oblivious antidote, cleanse the stuffed bosom of that perilous stuff which weighs upon the heart?"
He's asking for a cure for guilt, basically.
He is, and the doctor's reply is chillingly direct and profoundly insightful. Therein the patient must minister to himself.
Powerful. A statement on the limits of medicine when faced with self-inflicted guilt. No doctor can heal a tormented soul.
Precisely.
Okay, so the armies are converging, and then we witness the astonishing fulfillment of the first of those deceptive prophecies, the one about Birnam Wood.
Yes. In Act 5, Scene 4, Malcolm, showing good military strategy, orders his soldiers as they pass through Birnam Wood to hew him down a bough and bear it before him.
Cut down branches. Why?
To conceal the true size of their approaching army. To camouflage their numbers as they advance on Dunsinane Castle.
So, the soldiers carrying branches will look like.
Like the forest itself is moving towards the castle.
Wow. A clever military tactic, of course. But it's also the direct, literal fulfillment of the prophecy that Macbeth had dismissed as completely impossible.
Birnam Wood is quite literally going to come against Dunsinane Hill.
And just like that, the first of the witch's deceptively reassuring prophecies is about to be fulfilled. It's an image designed to shock both Macbeth and the audience into realizing the cruel trickery of the witch's words.
Which brings us to Act 5, Scene 5, and the ultimate tragic end for Lady Macbeth, a direct consequence of her spiraling guilt and madness.
How do we learn about it?
A cry of women is heard within the castle. Macbeth asks what the noise was, and Satan, his last remaining officer, reports curtly, "The queen, my lord, is dead."
Just like that, the queen is dead. Do we know how?
The play doesn't explicitly state it in this scene, but it immediately raises the question for us. Was it suicide? The later line in Malcolm's final speech is key here. He refers to Macbeth as this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands, took off her life.
Ah, so it strongly suggested it was suicide.
Very strongly suggested. Her death marks the end of her tragic journey. A profound, inescapable consequence of her unchecked ambition and the subsequent overwhelming, all-consuming guilt that drove her mad. She, who once commanded Macbeth to screw your courage to the sticking place, ultimately could not face the horrific reality of her own deeds or the relentless torment of her conscience.
And Macbeth's reaction to her death. It's strangely flat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then leads into one of Shakespeare's most famous, most profound soliloquies.
Yes, his initial reaction is almost dismissive. She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. It's as if he's too numb, too preoccupied with the siege, or perhaps life has lost so much meaning that even her death barely registers. And then he launches into that incredible speech. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow.
Tell us that speech. It's devastating.
He says, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, creaks in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Signifying nothing.
Wow. This speech is just incredibly profound. It reveals Macbeth's utter despair, his complete nihilism, his devastating recognition of the meaninglessness of his own bloody ascent to power, all the ambition, all the violence, all the suffering. It has culminated in a life that to him now signifies nothing. It's this devastating insight into the psychological cost of his choices, a total spiritual bankruptcy.
And almost immediately after this desolate reflection, more bad news arrives.
Yes. A messenger rushes in, terrified, reporting that as he looked out towards Birnam Wood, he saw, well, the wood began to move.
It's happening.
Macbeth, faced with this impossible sight finally becoming reality, realizes the witch's cruel equivocation. He cries, I pull in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth.
He understands he's been tricked, that the words he relied on were cunningly designed to deceive him.
He knows he's doomed now. But still, faced with annihilation, he resolves to fight to the bitter end. Ring the alarm bell, blow wind, come rack, at least we'll die with harness on our back.
A final, desperate act of defiance. Face the end like a soldier.
His final, desperate attempt to face his inevitable end with some semblance of his former warrior's courage. A last, futile attempt to reclaim his martial identity, even in utter defeat.
And so, we come to the final, bloody confrontation. Act 5, Scene 7 and 8. The battle is raging.
Macbeth encounters young Siward, the English general's son, and Macbeth, still clinging desperately to that second prophecy, easily kills him, boasting, Thou wast born of woman, but swords I smile at, weapons laugh to scorn, brandished by man that's of a woman born.
He's still holding on to that last deceptive promise, even as his world collapses around him. It's his final delusion.
Absolutely, until Macduff, the Avenger, finally confronts him, Turn, hellhound, turn.
And Macbeth's reaction to seeing Macduff.
Interestingly, Macbeth initially hesitates to fight him specifically. He acknowledges, Of all men else I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
Wow. A brief, very late flicker of conscience, a recognition of the horror he inflicted on Macduff's family.
Perhaps a recognition of his own monstrous deeds just before his rage and desperation take over again. He boasts about his charmed life, that he cannot be harmed by one of woman born.
But Macduff has the final, devastating revelation, the crushing blow to Macbeth's confidence.
Yes, Macduff delivers the line that shatters Macbeth's last hope, revealing the final, devastating trick of the prophecies. He cries, "Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped."
Untimely ripped, meaning
Meaning born by cesarean section. Not, in the most literal sense, born in the natural way.
the loophole, the ultimate equivocation.
Exactly. It explicitly reveals the clever, cruel wordplay of the witches, stripping Macbeth of his last defense. It shows the prophecies were never absolute protection, but cunning traps based on literal interpretations that exploited Macbeth's desperate desire for reassurance. He was so focused on the literal meaning, he missed the crucial nuance.
His reliance on fate, twisted by the witches, becomes the very instrument of his downfall.
Precisely. Macbeth, finally, utterly realizing the trick, knows he is doomed. He briefly considers not fighting, but then declares, "I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet. Yet I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damned be him that first cries, 'Hold, enough!'"
A final act of defiant despair, fighting to the death against the man destined to kill him.
It's a final, desperate, defiant act of a man cornered, stripped of all illusion, choosing a warrior's death over capture and humiliation.
And the fight happens offstage.
And Macduff returns, carrying Macbeth's severed head. A powerful, graphic, symbolic restoration of order to a ravaged Scotland. He presents it to Malcolm, hailing him.
And Malcolm is hailed king.
Yes, immediately hailed King of Scotland by all the assembled nobles. He swiftly sets about restoring order. He calls home the exiles who fled Macbeth's tyranny. He rewards his loyal thanes by making them earls, the first earls in Scotland, marking a new era of governance.
When he promises justice.
Yes, promising to justly punish the remaining cruel ministers of this dead butcher and his fiend-like queen. The play ends with the complete restoration of natural and moral order, a new virtuous king on the throne, and the clear, undeniable consequences for those who disturb the balance of nature and morality through unchecked ambition and violence. The cycle of tyranny is finally, definitively broken.
Phew. What an incredible, just visceral journey we've taken through ambition, guilt, the lure of prophecy, and the complete unraveling of a mind and a kingdom.
It's breathtaking, isn't it?
We've seen how prophecy can ignite those dormant, dark desires, how easily a celebrated hero can transform into a monstrous villain, and how unchecked power ultimately consumes everything, including the very self.
It's true. And Macbeth isn't just, a historical play about ancient Scotland. It's this profound psychological drama that continues to resonate across centuries. Why? Because it delves into these universal themes. Human ambition, moral compromise, the haunting, inescapable consequences of our actions.
It asks those deep questions, doesn't it?
It really does, about how much we are truly masters of our own destiny, or if we are merely puppets to external forces, whether supernatural prophecies or just our own internal flaws and desires that are just waiting to be awakened by the right or wrong circumstances.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, after taking this deep dive with us? Well, maybe next time you face a difficult decision, or maybe you feel that little whisper of vaulting ambition stirring within you. Perhaps consider the tragic, bloody path of Macbeth.
It's a cautionary tale for sure.
How much do we allow external suggestions, or even our own internal whispers of desire, to shape our choices? And how much can those choices ultimately fundamentally alter our character?
And perhaps the most terrifying insight Macbeth offers isn't just about evil itself, but about that fragile, almost invisible line between heroic potential and monstrous ambition.
Yeah, how quickly, how terrifyingly one can become the other.
It reminds us that sometimes the greatest, most devastating battles aren't fought on any battlefield with swords and shields, but right within the silent, intimate confines of our own minds.
So after exploring Macbeth's bloody journey and Lady Macbeth's tormented decline, maybe a final thought for you to mull over. What kind of spot are you trying to wash clean?
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast. Your stories, your time.